sessions just responding those questions. Okay. So welcome everyone to Live 96 that I hold every week on Sunday, 8:30 p.m. Brisbane time. And tonight I'm going to be answering some of the questions as I mentioned. And for those that don't know me, my name is Gerson Ida. I'm the founder of www.engineersinaustralia.com, a website to share content of value and useful information for your journey towards your engineering qualification validation in Australia. And I also share information about other subjects in engineering, for example, workplace health and safety, environmental management, and other engineering subjects. And also I have a special series, which is how to get your first professional job here in Australia. So perhaps next week, and next week, because it's public holiday on Sunday, I should have done this week as well, but I forgot to do it. But next week, Monday is holiday. I think it's Labor Day. So what I'm going to do, the live session is not going to be on Sunday because a lot of people they travel, you could be traveling. So I'm going to do on Monday instead. So instead of being Sunday, 8:30 p.m. Brisbane time, next week, the live session is going to be Monday, 8:30 p.m. Brisbane time. So you will see that when I post in Facebook and YouTube about the live session is going to be on Monday. So that's because Monday is going to be public holiday. All right. So I'm just going to choose some of the questions that I didn't answer. Yeah, there was somebody, I can see that there's a lot of people from Colombia, actually, which is part of my audience. And this question, although it's related to Colombia, but it can be related to any other country. And the question is in Spanish, so I will try to translate. How is the process initiating since from Colombia? So the process is pretty much the same, whether you are in Colombia, whether you are in Brazil, whether you are in India or Pakistan or Egypt or any other country. So especially if you are in a country that is not a signatory of the International Engineering Alliance, you will probably have to follow the CDR pathway, which is the Competency Demonstration Report. So the process is pretty much, first you got to download the booklet from Engineers Australia, Migration Skills Assessment booklet, which is this booklet here. To show you. Yeah, that's the booklet that you got to download. So very important to have this one first because this will have all the steps that you need to follow. But basically, you've got 6 steps for you to start and finish your engineering qualification validation. The first step being the personal documentation. We have to provide your photo, your identification, your resume, your English test. And then step number 2, you got to choose what category and what occupation you're going to validate. Occupation being professional engineer, engineering technologist, or engineering associate. And then the occupation is going to depend on, obviously, your qualification, civil engineer or mechanical engineer, petroleum engineer, whatever engineer you are trying to validate for. And then step number 3 is your academic documentation. You will need to provide copies of your certificate, your academic transcript, and any other relevant academic documents. Step number 4 is your evidences of your skilled employment. So pretty much your reference letters from your former employers. Then step number 5 are the 3 types of reports. The first type is your CPD, your continuing professional development. Report type number 2 are your 3 career episodes. And then report type number 3 is your summary statement. And then the last step, step number 6, is that you got to create an ID number with Engineers Australia on their website, and then upload all your documents, all your translations, your reports. You got to pay the fee. You will have to choose what services you want Engineers Australia to do. And then you pay your fees. And once you upload all the documents, then you hit submit. So obviously, very, very quickly, these are the how you can start your process in your country. Obviously, for your English test, you have to find the English test provider in your country, either PTE, TOEFL, or IELTS. The other question that I received, probably someone from a Spanish speaking background, because it is in Spanish. It says here, if I have very little or no experience, is there any problem? Is there any issue to validate the qualification? And the answer is no. You don't need work experience to validate your qualification with Engineers Australia. Engineers Australia, I don't know other assessing organizations, but I think that Engineers Australia is probably one of the few, or even the only one, that does not require work experience for you to validate your qualification, which means that you can be fresh graduated from university and then use your academic engineering experience to validate your qualification here in Australia. Or even if you have work experience, but if your work experience doesn't really match with what Australia or Engineers Australia, they classify as an engineer here, you could go back to your studies and then grab your exams or final assignments or reports and projects that you developed and you did during your academic experience. So there's no problem if you don't really have work experience. The other question is, can I work as a civil engineer only with my degree from my country? And the answer is that the profession of an engineer is not nationally regulated in Australia. So what does that mean? It means that, for example, in Queensland, the profession of engineer is regulated, and there is the Board of Professional Engineers of Queensland, where for you to provide professional engineering services, you need to be registered with the board. And if you are not registered and then provide professional engineering services, you could be prosecuted because of incurring in criminal offense. So there are a couple of exemptions that you can provide professional engineering services without being registered with the board. One is if you are directly supervised by a registered professional engineer of Queensland, or if you are strictly following a prescribed standard. So other than those two, you have to be a professional engineer of Queensland, a registered professional engineer of Queensland, to be able to provide professional engineering services. In other states, New South Wales and Victoria, they actually now working towards a registration. So they passed legislation with the Parliament, and from 1 July this year, they're going to start the registration. So there is going to be a transition period. So probably in few years' time, you will have to be registered with their respective boards as well. But you got to remember that to work here in Australia, you also need a visa. So even if you are validated or if you're not validated, remember that to work here in Australia, you need a visa. So it's a good idea for you to consult a registered migration agent and set up a plan for you to either get a work visa or get a visa that allows you to live and work here. But just from with the degree from your country, is going to be very, very difficult. Why is that? Because the market is very competitive as well. So every time that a company they advertise a position, there are lots of candidates that will be applying for those positions, 20, 30, 40, 50 candidates. And probably a good part of those candidates will have their qualification validated already. So then it means that your competition is going to be against engineers that have already their qualification validated. And if you don't, perhaps it's a disadvantage for you. So even though in those states that they don't really have the profession regulated, for you to be able to at least get a professional interview, it's certainly a good idea for you to validate your qualification. The other question that I got was about a salary. How much can I get paid as first job as an engineer? I had a look at some of the jobs website. You know, you can go to seek.com.au, you can go to indeed.com.au, and you will find that for graduate positions, engineers will probably going to get the initial salary of around 50 to 60,000 plus superannuation. And the superannuation is some sort of a fund for your retirement, and usually the companies they kind of a deposit around 9% of your salary every pay. So either a week or a fortnight or a month, whatever is your payment agreement. So, but you can count on between 50 to 60,000 as a graduate engineer. The other question that I received quite often, what are some advice to become successful in Australia? So that's a very good question, because to become successful in Australia, and it's not just for engineers, but pretty much for every single profession or occupation that you would like to apply for. And like everything else, it will depend on your dedication, your effort, and your perseverance. A lot of people think that the life here in Australia is very easy, but it's not. Australia is like any other country where there is a lot of competition. Yeah, the companies, if the companies are going to hire somebody, they want this somebody to perform. They want this employee to show good results. So, and you have to work hard because competition is very strong. So obviously you need to have the skills, you got to have the competencies, you got to have the abilities, and also you got to have positive attitude. Nowadays, when companies are interviewing for obviously to hire somebody, they observe skills and competencies, but also they observe very strongly the positive attitude of the candidate. So for you to become successful in Australia, you got to have patience, you got to be persistent, you got to be skilled, and you got to show positive attitude as well. And if you have any particular question, put in the comments. I've got some comments here in YouTube. I got Marcio. Yeah. It is difficult to find a sponsor in mechanical engineering in Adelaide. I'd say that a sponsor is not impossible, because I myself, I got a sponsor when I came here back in 2005. And I know a lot of people. I actually have a student of my mentoring program that he was validated back in February, I think. And he's also a mechanical engineer. And he just let me know that as soon as he got validated, the company offered him a sponsor. So he's actually now working with the company and working with a migration agent to get all the paperwork so he can get a sponsorship. So it is difficult, but it's not impossible, Marcio. You can get a sponsorship, and as I said, I got my sponsorship. I know many other people that got a sponsorship, and this student of mine just recently, he's currently in the process to get a sponsorship with a company, and he's also a mechanical engineer. Bishal in YouTube, hello, how are you? Murilo, he's asked a question in YouTube. How long does it take to finish the process? Validations from Brazil. Yes, Murilo, that's a very good question. And well, you probably need to think about how much time are you going to invest to dedicate in your process. From my experience, I can see I've got, for example, students from my mentoring program that they had some pressures. One student, December last year, she had 2.5 weeks to apply for the validation process because of some visa procedures, and she got some wrong advice from one migration agent. And then when she went to talk to another migration agent, the migration agent gave her a different direction, and she had to finish in 2.5 weeks. So she joined my mentoring program, and she finished everything pretty much in 2.5 weeks. And the last day that she was submitting her application. Certainly, she was not then studying, she was not working, she was dedicating pretty much 100% of her time to do this process. But I understand that a lot of people, especially if you are still in Brazil, you're probably still working. And in Brazil, I'm from Brazil as well. I know that when I was there, I was working a lot, and there's not a lot of time left in the day, because you arrive home 8 p.m. and then you have your family, etc., etc. So you may have 1 or 2 hours a day. But if you can dedicate between 3 and 5 hours a week in your validation process, I believe that in 2 or 3 months you will be able to finish everything. Obviously, if you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, then you can spend 8 hours a day. If you don't know what you're doing, you're going to do everything wrong, and then you're going to take months and months and months, and probably up to years and years. So, but I think that matching work, study, and dedicating between 3 and 5 hours a week, in 2 or 3 months, you will be able to complete your paperwork and your reports and everything. The other question that Marcio asked was, companies hire engineers easily, or they prefer technicians? Yeah, that's certainly a very good question, Marcio. And just reminding, if you haven't liked the video yet, or if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel and hit the finger in the like button, because it will help my channel. It will help this content, which is 100% free, to go to other people, and will help other people as well. So this question, companies hire engineers easily, or they prefer technicians? I'd say, Marcia, that the answer is both. There are jobs that technicians, they can do it, and there are jobs that engineers can do it. And if there is a job that just an engineer can do it, I can guarantee to you that companies will hire engineers. They're not going to hire technicians and ask them to do an engineer job. Well, at least majority of the companies that I know of, they very serious companies, and they're not going to jeopardize their reputation hiring technicians to do a job that an engineer needs to do. At least here in Queensland, if there is a job that needs professional engineering services, just a registered professional engineer can do it. If you ended up hiring a technician to do a job that just an engineer can do it, here in Queensland, this technician then can be liable for prosecution and can be prosecuted because it's a criminal offense. But there are certainly room for everybody. There are room for technicians, there are room for technologists, and there are room for engineers as well. All right, just checking any other question there. No, that's all good. Yeah, thanks those ones sending those questions, and if you have more questions, I'm more than happy to answer those. In the meantime, I've got a few more here. The other question, it says here, does Engineers Australia keep a standard for all engineering related job? Well, Engineers Australia is not actually a job company. Engineers Australia is an organization. It's a private organization that is accredited to assess overseas qualifications, and obviously it's what they call peak body of engineering. So obviously very well respected, and they don't really keep a database for engineering jobs. So you can go to, I'm actually going to copy and paste this one in YouTube and Facebook. There are a couple of websites that you can have a look, and you can search for engineering jobs. The first one is seek.com.au, and the second one I'm going to put here in see if I can, how can I do that in Instagram while I'm having a live session. I'm not sure how I can do this, but I will put in the other profile that I have, www.seek.com.au, and the other one is www.indeed.com.au. Yeah, those ones in Instagram, you could be thinking, oh, there's a different profile. Yeah, that's my other profile, Como Vencer Meu Câncer. Some of you may or may not know, but I had cancer 7.5 years ago. And my other profile is to raise awareness of people less than 50 years old about colon cancer. So if you know somebody, if you are interested in this topic, and I share some of the things that I believe help me to win this battle against cancer. So consider going there and follow me, or send to people that perhaps could benefit the information that I share sometimes in there. All right. There's another question there, Marcia. I will need a sponsor. I will need a sponsor visa for A2, need the skill assessment in mechanical engineering because my age, 46. Yeah, I know that there are some restrictions about age in majority of the visas, but as I mentioned before, because I'm not really a registered migration agent, I can't really provide migration advice. I certainly advise you to consult a registered migration agent, and and ask the question, because unfortunately, I don't know in terms of the age. I know that majority of the visas, they have some age restriction, but would be good for you to consult a registered migration agent. My knowledge is limited to the validation process. Sorry, Marcio. Uh, I usually, perhaps in the next workshop, I just finished my workshop a week and a half ago. Perhaps the next one that I do, I did already a few times. I brought a migration agent to do a little bit of a question and answer as well, and a little bit of presentation about types of visa that engineers they can have access to. So perhaps in the next workshop, I'll bring a migration agent, and then you guys can ask those questions direct to the migration agent. All right, and I just would like to remind you guys that my online mentoring program is closing tonight at midnight. Some of you already enrolled, and I would like to thank you guys very much for your trust. And I believe that majority of you guys already received my email and already joined my Telegram group just for the students. And you have already, I actually spoke with one of the students today. She joined mid of the week, and she's already watching the classes, so which is good. So just reminding, if you are interested, the site is www.validationmentoring.com. See if I have. I don't really have the text there, but it's validationmentoring.com, and this is the website where you guys can still see the promotion with a $150 discount, and also the 9 exclusive bonuses. They worth $1,300. They will be yours for free as well. And the ebooks, these ebooks are very popular. 7 tips to write a very good curriculum vitae, 7 tips for cover letter, and 7 tips for professional interview. And this one, 13 pages, just hints and tips that I provided to my students, very valuable, so you don't really make the same mistakes, and other bonuses there as well. And you still have 30 days warranty, so if you're not happy, you just need to send me an email with a copy of your CDR, and you will get your money back. And there are a few testimonies here that you can watch at your leisure, where I have some of my students that they got validated, and they told a little bit about their journey. And if you're happy with that, you can just click on this button. It will then open up another page that you will find the card. It's taking a while, but it will open up a page with the mentoring program. Sorry, because I was the one that built this website, and I'm not a professional, obviously, web designer. But that is the website. $697. That's the investment now. So you can add to the cart, and once you add to the cart, it goes to the cart, and then you can then go to the checkout. So proceed to checkout then, and then you will have the page where you have to put your details, your name, address, and here's going to where you're going to put your username and password and email, because that is going to be how you're going to access the portal. And here you can pay direct bank transfer, PayPal, credit card, or here you can pay in 3 payments. It's $249 deposit and another 2 payments of $249. And once you effect the payment, you will go to my validation formula portal. So that's the portal where you will have access to all classes. So I'm just going to log in, and then you have access to all classes. There are 25 modules where I have all the, if I view the mentoring program there, you have access to all classes. So for example, let's see here, planning the career episodes. I've got 6 classes just for this one. Let's say, I think this is a tutorial, examples of ANZ SEO definition of occupations. So it's actually, the format is like this. It's like this video is 8 minutes and 51 seconds. You have this class.
Hi, in the previous lesson, we had a look at the career episode experience planning tool.
But this is how the classes are made, and some of them, they've got PowerPoint presentations.
Sewerage system.
And other ones, they've got like a tutorial as well.
To each of the 16 competencies required by Engineers Australia. So, print out.
All right. I'll check if I've got more questions there. So, yeah, Vander in Facebook. Thanks for the question, Vander. He's asking, hi, Jerson. I would like to know if the mentoring material is in Portuguese as well, or just in English. Yeah, that's a very good question, Vander. My first mentoring programs, they were in Portuguese because I just had Brazilian students. And once I start having interest from other people, I have students from other countries as well, Argentina and Colombia and Venezuela, etc. So what I did, I actually then made it everything in English. One, because English is very important for you to get your listening used to. Obviously, I'm not an English speaker, so my English is not perfect, but any English is better than no English. So unfortunately, nowadays, the mentoring program is just in English. So am I going to do in Portuguese? Probably not. But in the video, I pretty much talk very slowly because I'm aware that I've got a lot of students that they are from Brazil. They're not here in Australia, and their English is still kind of basic to intermediate. So, and also because there is PowerPoint presentation, you can read, and then obviously you can research. And I found that this is a very good reason for you then to improve your English, because you have to research, you have to look at the dictionary, you will have to obviously pay a lot of attention to understand what I'm talking about. So yeah, short answer is that yeah, it's just pretty much in English. I'll check. Yeah, Danielle in Instagram. I don't know, Danielle, if you're still there or not. But he's asking how to apply for RPQ after the degree recognized. Yeah, that's a very good question, Danielle. And I can answer because I still am part of the panel of interviewers or panel of assessors with Engineers Australia. In fact, I have, I think it was last or 2 months ago, one engineer put myself as a peer review as a professional peer reviewer, and I did that as part of his RPQ, CPNG RPQ process. But in a nutshell, the validation, the qualification validation is stage number 1, pretty much. It's when Engineers Australia is going to validate your qualification, saying that it's equivalent to the same engineering degree here in Australia. That's stage 1. For you to become RPEQ, there are a few ways to do it. One way is for you to become a chartered professional engineer with Engineers Australia, or CPEng, and there is a process for that. You can also become a professional engineer with a registered professional engineer with Professionals Australia. Professionals Australia is another institution similar to Engineers Australia, where you can, after you do your stage 1 process, once you validate your qualification, you can go to Professionals Australia and do the process to become a registered professional engineer with Professionals Australia. And there are some other organizations that are very specific. I think that for mining engineers, there is a separate institution that you do your stage 2 with them. So once you get your stage 2, which is pretty much the chartered professional engineer or registered professional engineer with Professionals Australia, or with the other institutions which are very specific, when you get your stage 2, you get a letter from that institution, and then you need to go to the Board of Professional Engineers of Queensland, BPEQ, and then you got to do your application. You got to have your CPD as well. You got to have 150 hours of CPD in the last 3 years, and you got to pay the fee for the annual fee, and you got to respond a questionnaire about your fitness for the profession. So if you haven't kind of done any criminal offense, or if you're not bankrupted, etc., etc., etc. So once you put your application in, you pay your fee, you answer those questions, you attach the letter that you are a chartered professional engineer or a registered professional engineer with Professionals Australia, etc. Then you send to the Board of Professional Engineers of Queensland, and then they have a little committee that they discuss, and then they approve the new members. So I am a RPEQ since I think 2009 or 10. I forgot it because it's been a long time. But yeah, it's pretty much, this is the process. So how long, another question that I get usually is how long after stage 1 you can then apply for stage 2. Engineers Australia, for example, for you to become a chartered professional engineer, usually it's 3 years. You're going to have 3 years of experience. So you got to remember that once you become a chartered professional engineer, you become eligible to be RPEQ, a registered professional engineer of Queensland, and which means that you can work unsupervised. So for you to work unsupervised, Engineers Australia or Professionals Australia or the Board of Professional Engineers of Queensland, they have to be satisfied that you are competent enough to work unsupervised. So it can take 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, depending on obviously the complexity of work that you did and the sort of work that you did. So it can take some time. I don't know if that answered your question, Daniel. Yeah. All right. Just going to check if I have any other question, conscious of time, because it's been already 45 minutes, and I always try to stick with the 30 minutes, but yeah, the validation process is very, there's a lot of things to talk about the validation process. And I'm glad that you guys are asking questions, because, you know, I try to think what questions can kind of help you guys. But if you guys ask me a question directly, then I know 100% sure that that question is actually, the answer is going to be useful for you. So thank you very much for those ones that asked the question. And also thanks for those ones. I think I just got another subscriber in YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed yet to my channel, you just need to search for Gerson Ida. Please consider subscribing to my channel. I don't really have a lot of subscribers. I think I just have about 400 and something. Would be good to have more. If you know other engineers that would benefit in having this content, please forward my channel to them. And I've got more than 150 videos in my YouTube channel that I talk about this. And I believe the next Monday is going to be the next live session. I'm going to talk about a subject in terms from my series, how to get the first professional job here in Australia, because it's very, very popular. So if I don't really have any other questions, I would like to thank you guys very much, and reminding you that the enrollments for my mentoring program will be closing tonight, midnight, Brisbane time. If you are in Brazil, it's going to be Sunday, not midday, but 11 a.m. Brasilia time. So when I'm going to open another group, I don't know, but this group is open, and it's going to be open for another 2 hours and 43 minutes. So I have to stay awake until midnight tonight, because then I'm going to just turn off that website. All right, then. I would like to thank you guys very much, and I'll see you next Monday, 8:30 p.m. Brisbane time. Thank you, and I'll see you there. Bye-bye.